Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Lucy Houghton, the Courage Cartographer. And if you've ever wondered, how do I lead and not burn out and not lose myself and stay authentic and make courageous decisions? Well, you're in the right place because that's exactly the kind of questions that we answer here. And so today I wanted to jam a little with you on the courage work that I did as part of my research. So I study, in particular, courageous leaders, and my research started around courageous women leaders and how do we summon courage. And so I thought I would share with you the things that I found in there and just, we won't go too deep, but deep enough, I think, for you to be able to see why I went on this journey then of teaching leaders how do you summon your courage. Because here's the deal: if you face risk, uncertainty, or emotional exposure leading, you will need courage. That's exactly where courage shows up. It shows up in times of discomfort, times of change, times of harm, times of shame. So it's showing up every day in all of our lives, regardless of whether we're leading at home, leading our own personal life or self, leading a team, leading a giant organization, leading a small organization. It doesn't matter. Wherever you are leading, courage is going to be needed if you want to succeed. So here's essentially the breakdown. What I found is that courage is not this thing we have or this thing that we get. It is a set of skills, and they look a little different than what I find most people think of when we think about courage. Because when we think of someone being courageous, we think of these big, brawny moments, these heroic moments. But the reality is, while those do happen, it is much more common for us to be having these smaller moments of courage. And it's in all of those smaller moments where we're practicing courage that we're able to take those leaps. When we see that, it's because a lot of people haven't practiced our courage muscles. And so they don't know how to summon the courage in those times where we need that big courage. So it looks like this. Essentially, it comes down to four main pillars of courage, of the skill set. So you can think about this, I don't know, if we thought about it like a toolbox maybe, or a backpack, and there's different, let's think about it like a backpack, because I really love that thought about leadership being, it's a courageous adventure. I think so many times we think about leadership as like this scary thing, and it can be, there's no doubt it can be. But when I think about it as an adventure, that seems like something worth doing. And so if we think about it like a backpack, courage is a backpack. And it has different sections inside that backpack to hold the different tools that you need to go on your adventure. So we're going to say that our backpack has four different main pouches where we can put all the tools that we need. In the courage world, that looks like belonging to yourself. We'll get into all the things like what are all the tools that go into that pouch. Believing in yourself. Ooh, deep belief in yourself. That is a deep pocket, and it's filled with some incredible tools. It looks like a place for safe reflection. So that is a pouch inside of our backpack. And then the other one is courageous connections. And so let's just jam a little bit on what goes into each one of those pouches. So when we talk about belonging to self, in that pouch, we're going to put tools like, how do I accept myself as I am? So not as the perfect human, because perfection's an illusion, right? We know this, but exactly who I am, that I make mistakes, that I'm going to screw up sometimes, and that I am enough, and exactly the way that I show up right now is enough. It doesn't mean that I don't want to work to strive to be better, but it means that this is who I am, this is the journey I'm on, and I accept all of me. Another tool that goes into this particular pouch is self-compassion, because I'm telling you, y'all, we cannot be courageous if we cannot give ourselves grace. It's also self-love. This is the real love, right? Like the deep love, like I can love myself unconditionally. There aren't conditions that I put on myself of whether or not I'm worthy today of love, but not tomorrow, or I made a bad decision and so I can't be worthy of love anymore. Nope, sorry. And you might wonder, like, what the heck does love have to do with leadership, Lucy? Well, my friend, if you don't have that sense of I love myself, accept myself exactly how I am, and give myself grace, it's going to be really hard to do that for anybody else. This is also where we look at our worthiness. We understand that our worthiness is non-negotiable. We understand and have clarity around what matters most to us. So we know what our value sets are, because where our values are is where our decisions are made. There are also a lot of times where conflict shows up. So those things are really important for us as leaders to know, how am I going to navigate hard times? Owning our voice is another tool that goes into this pouch as well. So it says, not that I am the loudest person in the room, but that I know that what I have to share is unique and it's needed. So we add it to the group instead of holding it back and feeling like everyone else has something to say that's important and we don't. This also might mean that I need to recognize when I am being the loudest person in the room and ask myself, is this the moment? Is that what owning my voice looks like? So it's having responsibility for your voice, both speaking and knowing when to hold and listen. Belief in self. The belief in self pouch. Here's what we're putting in there. We are putting tools like, I am willing to be vulnerable. I know, I said it. I don't mean vulnerable as in like wrecking shop. I mean, because that's not vulnerability, right? I mean vulnerable as in allowing you to see that I don't have everything all figured out all the time. This is trusting myself in my choices and my actions, even though I know sometimes I'm going to get it wrong, but trusting that I'm clear on how I make my decisions. And so I can trust that I am doing the very best that I can with the information I currently have and move forward. This also means acceptance of failure. That is a tool that we put into this pouch, acceptance of failure, because we are human and we are going to fail. That's just the reality of it. Sorry about the bad news. Or perhaps really great news, because if you're not failing, you're not really trying. So we're putting acceptance of failure into this pouch as well. And faith. Faith goes into this pouch. And if you're like, whoa, Lucy, we don't talk about that. Listen, faith, defined as the potential possibility that whatever is on the other side of whatever I'm dealing with could be good. There's hope on the other side of that. So that possibility of a positive future outcome, faith, goes inside this bag. Pouch number 3 is a safe, reflective space. In the safe, reflective space, this is an internal space for us where we can get clear and be really honest with ourselves. What ownership do I need to take? What did where did I maybe make a mistake? What do I need to do to solve this? How do I feel about this? What do I really want to do? I mean, I feel like I'm being pushed to do this thing, but this thing is actually what I feel like is the right thing to do. So it gives you the space to reflect on what's right for me in the situation. So if we define courage defined as deliberately choosing what is right for you in the face of risk, uncertainty, and emotional exposure. So deliberately choosing what's right in the face of vulnerability. Inside the safe reflective space, we see things like it's a safe container. We don't invite people there to share that space with us if they're not safe. And not everyone who is safe in one kind of thought process is going to necessarily be safe in another for you, and that's for you to determine. This is where we explore options. It's where we clarify, examine, where we learn from ourselves, where we trust our intuition, right? This is that place where we can hear and feel our intuition. And this is where we embrace discomfort. People often describe this as I go for a walk, I take a shower, I sit in nature, I row a boat, I walk my dog. I have time, I pray. I have time where I just sit and think, and then I invite a trusted friend in, or my partner, or my therapist, or my counselor, or my pastor into that conversation, or my coach into that conversation, right? This is the space that you create to just zoom out. And then the fourth place is courageous connections. These are supportive connections. These connections are, I used to think were kind of a nice to have. I have come to learn this is not a nice to have, you guys. This is a requirement. All right, let me clarify. It is not a requirement. You can choose courage, even big courage, all on your own. You can. But what leaders told me over and over and over is while they can choose courage on their own, it may take them years to make that courageous decision. When they have supportive connections, courageous connections, I call this the Courage Council. When they have a Courage Council in place, they can go so much faster. They can turn years into months, weeks, days, hours, minutes. They can go so much faster. So in your Courage Council, you have 4 main groups. You have your wise one, your hype circle, your ally, and your truth teller. And those 4 groups of people, sometimes it's one person, sometimes, one person can serve as multiple different areas. It can look a million different ways, but it also is usually different for different circumstances of courage, of course. So knowing who those people are and how they can support your courage can help you go faster, further, with more confidence and clarity around why I'm making those decisions, how I'm making those decisions, and who I am when I'm making those decisions. So I hope that helps and that you found value in how do I summon courage? What are the tools that I'm going to need to build? What are the 4 pockets in my courage backpack to go on this adventure of leadership so that we can all brave leadership together? And those are the kinds of things that when you're, hearing about courses that I have or my year-long program, Braving Leadership, these are the things that we are diving into. We're building out these skills and helping you move into a place of feeling comfortable with how to summon that courage when it's needed. And what's the risk of not doing that? And what kinds of benefits do we see with courageous leadership, which, by the way, are just some of the most tremendous benefits. So there's so many different things that when we're leading in this courageous way, that it helps support us, our teams, and our organizations, and truly help us to live and lead in these ways where we don't have to burn out and we don't have to lose ourselves and we don't have to show up in an inauthentic way. In fact, we get to show up fully authentic in a way that holds us with a care that's deliberate and really focused and clear and conscious and kind. I hope you enjoyed. I wish you so much love and adventure and courage, and I'll see you on the next episode.